So the American Psychological Association has declared masculinity to be harmful. Sadly, I don't think society has to worry because there's so little masculinity left. But it doesn't surprise me. This has been part of an ongoing attack and something I've been more aware of myself lately, because we as a people have lost the wisdom that has been handed down, that was handed down from our great-grandparents to our grandparents, from our grandparents maybe to our parents, depending on who we are. And men no longer know how to be men. And I was just at the gas station getting my tank filled up, and or I had to get my tank filled up. And when I pulled in, it was one of those gas stations where the gas attendees walk up to the car, they take your cash, they take your credit card, and then they pump your gas for you. Now, where I am, it's about 30 degrees, probably feels like 20, but I've been doing everything I can to recover the ancient wisdom that our generation has lost. So there's no way I'm allowing anyone to pump my gas ever again, because that's a man's job. That's what a man does. A man has to be tough. A man has to have stoicism. A man has to be able to walk out in the cold and not complain about the cold, but do the job that has to be done. In fact, doing the job that has to be done is almost always done by men with this toxic masculinity. For example, when I got out of the car at the gas station and I looked around and I saw all these other soy boys sitting in their car because, God forbid, they got out of their car when it's 30 degrees. The gas attendees who were going up to their cars and pumping their gas for them, of course they were, you already knew, I didn't have to say it, right? You knew it was a man, because these are the jobs that men do. It's when they knock on masculinity, when they say it's a patriarchy, right? They say, we need more female engineers and we need more female congresswomen. What they don't say is that and by the way, this is not a knock on women, so don't take it that way. This is a defense of the things that men do, and it's okay for men to defend the things that men do, just as it's okay for women to defend the things that women do. But you don't ever hear them saying, well, we really need more women pumping gas, right? We really need more women doing deep sea fishing. We really need more women fixing up the streets and climbing up electrical poles. You don't hear that, because 93% of workplace deaths are male. Masculinity literally built the modern world, and masculinity is what holds the infrastructure of our entire nation together. So I got out of the car and I looked around and I saw all these soy boys, and they're sitting in their cars, and these grown men. And I used to be guilty of this. I have self-awareness now. I'm not going to fall victim to the feminization of society, because I have to be a role model, not just for my young child who, you're damn right, I want to grow up and be masculine, and I will do everything I can to make sure that happens, because that will make him lead the healthiest, most productive life. Because the masculine, right, or as the American Psychological Association worded it, competitiveness and stoicism are what allow people to prosper in a very cold world. And I'm not just talking about the 30-degree temperature, because competition, competitive drive, the desire to prove yourself in this world, that you're able to make it, that you're able to do something, that you're able to make a living, that you're able to conquer something. That is what drives the world forward. It's where innovation, where invention comes from. Very often, the majority of the time, men being competitive and trying to drive the world forward to make their mark. And of course, stoicism, because those jobs, that gas attendant, he's able to do that job because he's stoic. He's cold. He's outside and he's pumping people's gas all day. And why is he doing that? Probably to bring that money home so that his wife doesn't have to stand outside all day. Now, his wife, she's not lazy. There's nothing wrong. In fact, she is just as noble in every way because his wife is making sure that the children, and that's what it's all about, are getting what they need. The man's not taking this job. He's not... Being a gas attendant isn't glorified as they will tell the feminist it is. And I don't mean it's... Of course, it's about feminism also, right? That's... Working this job isn't glorious. This isn't the patriarchy. This man is standing outside every day for probably 12, 13 hours in the freezing cold pumping gas so that he can give that resource to his wife, who in turn gives attention to and food and whatever the child needs to the child so that the child can grow up strong. And this is why traditional gender roles are important. This is why the masculine and the feminine work so well together. But of course, the way it's worded in, the way the narrative goes in the media, it's more like, oh, there's a rich CEO and he's out living this glorious life making millions of dollars and his wife is just stuck at home and she can't do anything else. Well, of course, it's the opposite. The masculine and the feminine work well together. But I have been so angry and so awakened to the attacks on masculinity, and you really see it with the American Psychological Association saying that masculinity is harmful, that I have been doing everything in my power to regain the ancient wisdom that has been lost by our generation and the generation before us. So I no longer, will never again allow another man to pump my gas. So when I pull up at the gas station and it's 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 10 degrees, I get out of the car and I grab the cold metal handle and I pump the gas, because there is a power in a man conquering his environment, even the smallest things. And you will find that after you do something as small as getting out of the car to pump your gas, that you could feel the blood flowing through your veins. Something in our DNA, something that has been lost by our generation. But it doesn't just stop with gas. Men, you got to stop letting other men pump your gas. And you have to stop letting other men fix what is broken. If there's something around the house and you can pay for it, I've been guilty as this. I've been very guilty of this in the past. You just pay someone else to do it, but we can't do that anymore. We need to show people what a man does, what masculinity can do. And that is to conquer our environments and do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary in the service of the women and the children in our lives so that they are empowered and as a family unit can grow together and live strong, comfortable lives. So we need to recover these ancient skills. So when something's broken around the house, you need to get up and you need to find a way to fix it. You need to do the research, do trial and error, talk to your fellow man, and figure out how to take care of the problem. Because masculinity has been so under assault in our society. And the result is everyone you see around you is a soy boy. We live in a generation of men raised by women, and then they attack masculinity, although masculinity has been eroding. It's not really there. Because when you have this generation of men raised by women, whether that's single mothers, whether that's the education system, which is completely dominated by women, you notice they say masculinity is toxic, yet you have generations of men being raised by women, and you don't hear any calls for we need positive male role models in the schools, right? Right? If there were, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but if you flip the number of girl teachers and boy teachers, man teachers and woman teachers, so that the field is predominantly men, you would hear, we need women to work in that field. But because the field is predominantly women, you don't hear, we need men to work in the field of education. So we live in a society of men that have been raised by women, and the result has been a misunderstanding of what masculinity truly is, because on the one hand, you have these soy boys who want to be subservient to women, not in the traditional masculine way, which I explained. In the traditional, I'll talk about, they want to be subservient to women in that they don't stand up for themselves. They do whatever they're told, and they worship at the feet of women, even if those women don't deserve it, just because they are of different sex, different gender. Then you get the other extreme. You get toxic masculinity, which you see from men that are raised primarily by women because they don't have positive male role models. And that's what you get with Kareem Hunt, the NFL player, the running back, right, who on camera throws a woman to the floor, kicks her while she's on the ground. That is toxic masculinity. And again, the result of a generation of men being raised primarily by women, and the definition and the understanding of what true masculinity is being eroded, because the true masculine does live in service of women, but service in the way that the gas station attendee lives his life in service. It is not glorious for him to stand outside for 12 to 13 hours a day in 30-degree weather. But there is a stoicism, there is a strength, there is a calm, and there is a resolve in his masculinity. And society benefits from that masculinity. And make no mistake, his wife and his children benefit from that masculinity. And no woman, no matter what society tells you, wants a man who has been feminized. This is the messaging that comes from society, but this is not reality. The true masculine lives his life competitively and stoically in service of women, in service of society, putting their own physical comfort to the back of their mind and focusing on jobs that have to be done. And once you start to do that, you see that there is a fulfillment within the traditional masculine role, something primal, something in our DNA that is awakened. So I beg you, go outside in the cold and fill up your own freaking gas tank and feel the blood rush through your veins. As always, power to the individual. Long live liberty.